Hi, welcome everybody to this session. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. My name is Eunice Bonsi, an extension research professor and faculty in the Department of Food and Nutritional Sciences, College of Agriculture, Environment and Nutrition Sciences at Tuskegee University. I coordinate the Nutrition Innovation Lab capacity and research activities in Uganda and Nepal at Tuskegee University, one of the US consortium universities working in collaboration with Tufts University, the lead partner. I'm the moderator for this session, and this session will highlight in-country partners of the Nutrition Innovation Lab Uganda sharing their experiences on the strategies, achievements, and challenges on building human and institutional capacity in Uganda. The session will also showcase short video messages from the local researchers supported by the Nutrition Innovation Lab, their achievements and experiences on why it is crucial to focus on youth, gender, local stakeholders for ownership and accountability to sustain gains in nutrition. Presenting in this order will be Dr. Bashaasha, the professor in agriculture and development economics and principal, College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences at Makerere University, Uganda. He currently teaches both graduate and undergraduate level courses at the university. He's an active researcher and principal investigator for several research projects. This will be followed by Mr. Edgar Agaba, who is currently pursuing his PhD at Stellenbosch University in South Africa. He holds an MS from Makerere University and MPH Nutrition from Tufts University, sponsored by the Nutrition Innovation Lab. He is the Uganda County Coordinator for Nutrition Innovation Lab in Uganda. Anyway, so the last presenter will be Dr. Margaret Kabahenda, who is a senior lecturer in the Department of Food, Technology and Nutrition at the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences at Makerere University, where she leads courses in both community and clinical nutrition at the undergraduate and graduate levels. Dr. Kabahenda is the Uganda in-country coordinator for Tuskegee University Nutrition Innovation Lab. Presenting as the first person will be Dr. Bashaasha. Over to you.
Thank you, Eunice. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, whoever you are. My name is Bashaasha, as already introduced, and I must begin with an obituary because the Ugandan team lost one of us to the pandemic. That is the late Dr. Barnabas Natamba, who was actually a graduate of Cornell University in the USA. He also worked with Harvard as a postdoc. He worked with Guru University, where he lectured, but he had joined our Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. And then he passed on a couple of months ago. He was very productive, a prolific researcher. If you Google his name, you'll be able to see some of the work he did while with us. So we are saddened, and that's what the impact the pandemic has had on us directly as the nutrition lab, in addition, of course, to other unfortunate incidents not connected directly with the lab. I'm going to talk about human and institutional capacity building in Uganda, and the beautiful part of this presentation is that most of the pieces have already been hinted on or alluded to by the various speakers, both from Uganda and from Tufts University. So our capacity building approach was dimensional in a sense that we wanted to use a different approach in terms of reaching out to different people that are in different institutions that we thought would be useful in helping us get to the impacts that we intended to achieve. Next slide. Thank you. So we had quite a number of what I would call the key tenets of this approach we used. And I'll go through them quite quickly. And then as the previous speakers will, I think, add some additional detail on some of the points I have gone through. So we took a deliberate effort to really look at the intersection among agriculture, health, and nutrition. And that was new in Uganda before the lab came into being. So our capacity building efforts really looked beyond the traditional nutrition pathways that we knew and ran into really seeing how agriculture can actually be enabled to improve nutrition and at the same time improve health outcomes. And we are tracking all those outcomes concurrently, as I think Nasur did mention. Again, the point was made, we took a multi-sectoral approach, engaging all the key stakeholders, especially the line ministries. And as you saw in the video clip by Julius, the Minister of Agriculture remains key, but also we insisted on having the Minister of Health on board and the Super Ministry, which is the Office of the Prime Minister, largely the coordinating ministry also coming on board. There were other line ministries that took part, but these are the three that we highlighted. Next slide. Again, this point has been alluded to. We took a stakeholder approach, recognizing the traditional players, but also bringing on board the non-traditional players. And the traditional players, I have already hinted on them, but the non-traditional players, people were kind of like sitting on the sidelines, where institutions like the National Planning Authority, universities were really not into mainstreaming this directly. I think at that time, only Makerere University was offering some training in nutrition, but right now that has changed. The National Agricultural Research System, including NARO, which is the major coordinating body, were not really doing nutrition programming and nutrition research, but we deliberately reached out to them, and this has changed as we speak. Many of the NGOs also had not mainstreamed issues of nutrition and even the pathways from agriculture through nutrition into health. Local governments, as I think Nasur alluded in his talk, all these were sort of brought them on board using the efforts of the Nutrition Innovation Lab. Multidisciplinarity was another key element of our approach, bringing on board a multitude of disciplines beyond traditional nutritionists. We right now have plant breeders, food scientists, agriculture economists, gender specialists, even educationists like Julius Tuinamasco, the one whose clip you observed actually is from the education side. So we have many of these different disciplines now speaking the language of nutrition, and many of them are actually the champions of nutrition. Next slide, please. We also recognized, as I think previous speakers have spoken, especially I think Will Masters, the political side of things. We needed to build a political debate and consensus around issues of nutrition. And the achievements there is that we had nutrition for the first time mainstreamed in a national development plan. The second, and I think it is in the third. Also, as already alluded to, we had districts now recognizing the importance of nutrition and actually mainstreaming it in district development plans and even budgeting for it. We catalyzed really the formation of nutrition focal offices at the district level, and even at the lower levels. I think there are now people who can speak to nutrition, even at sub-county level. And now we are talking about the parish development model. So I do hope that nutrition officers will be brought down up to the parish level. Strengthened nutrition focus in MAIF, and I think Julia spoke to this very clearly. That's why he ended up there. This focus and office were not there a decade back. Next slide. Also catalyzing interest in nutrition training. We are seeing increased interest in training in nutrition at both graduate and undergraduate level. And we are seeing the applicants coming from non-nutrition disciplines. They are coming from all over the place, as I said, education, economics, sociology, and they are embracing the issues of nutrition and recognizing the importance. We're also having an increased number of universities offering nutrition and related courses. As I said, initially it was Makerere University, but now we have almost all public universities with some nutrition programs here and there, and even some of the private universities also on board. Next slide. Evaluation, this point has been emphasized, and justice has been done to it by Nasuru's presentation, because really that presentation zoomed on this point. We did not forget the importance of evaluation. So we had impact assessment, we had panel surveys, the birth cohort that Nasur talked about, but also the community connector, where alongside doing self-assessments along the way, so that the information we had is kind of like triangulates with what they had. So we recognized this, and in the process, capacity was built, both of the people who are participating, both at national, at the district, and even lower levels. We also emphasized the issue of publicity and visibility, because we really intended to have what we are doing known, not only by the policymakers, but also by the public, because that's how you galvanize national support. And this was through symposia. We had one, I think, last year, but one. We were supposed to have one, but the pandemic interfered with that. The district dissemination workshops have been talked to, and my colleague Edgar will be speaking a little bit more also about that. There is a magazine, a nutritionist, which we also have a footprint, and many academic publications, I think, which many speakers have spoken about. We've also had media appearances, probably not as intensified as would have liked to, but these ones also help to drive the point home, especially as far as swaying public opinion and public interest is concerned. A little bit more about the district dissemination workshops. These ones generated debate. While we are giving them, as Nasur mentioned, we learned a lot, and a lot of other issues other than those we had tackled were put on the table. And this is really material for the next engagement, the next activities, and the reports are available that do record this information. Next slide. My next, this is, I think, one last but one slide, is to really look ahead and see how our future capacity building efforts might shape up. The world is not going to be the same again, largely because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdowns. We still have a partial one going on here with a curfew and restricted movements. And we think this is going to determine very much the way things are done going forward. The recent policy focus on food systems that Professor Patrick Webb ably presented in his morning presentation does also set new boundaries, new directions, new parameters for the way we will be doing capacity building, because new issues have come on board that will need to be examined and interrogated and looked at. Climate change, somebody presented something on climate change and its impact on nutrition. And the global warming, again, this is another mega change or wave that is going to drive the way we do things. We do believe capacity building is not a one-off process. You don't come do capacity building and go away and everything falls in place. So there's going to be a need for us to look for ways and means of sustaining this because the capacity we build, people pass on, people move into different activities, people age. So it's something that we shouldn't say we have done it, we have achieved this, and we can stop. Next slide, I think, should be about basically next one.
Now,
okay.
you are done.
Fine, thank you very much. Back to you, Eunice.
Agaba, you want to add something? One or two, you have about 2 minutes.
Oh, sure, thank you. So as I just wanted to give my experiences, both as a student at Tufts, but also as one of the champions of improving the capacity of districts to mainstream nutrition into their development plans using evidence that is over time collected since 2012. So I have continued to do my research around prioritizing and funding nutrition at both national and district level. And I wanted to give an experience of how we built, how we moved towards building institutional capacity at district level. So this is based on the evidence that over the years, since 2012, we've collected, and this information has been used to prepare better planning.
You have 2 minutes.
To prepare better planning and budgeting at district and national level. So we've been highly involved in these nutrition workshops. We've so far conducted 12 workshops within the 6 districts. And there are quite a number of experiences which I wanted to share with you. One of them has been that the districts really re-emphasize that there is need for planning using evidence, and that's data. And so our job has been to put this information across there in transforming, so that they can use this information to transform into their plans. And of course, that would help into preparing the implementation of this district plan, especially district nutrition action plans. So together with Makerere University, we've made over 12 presentations I mentioned, and these were mainly conducted together with district officials. And these results, which were mainly from the panel survey, but also from the birth cohort, have been very influential in helping the districts understand how important it is to use data to influence planning. As I had mentioned to you, our audiences has mainly been the political leaders, local government leaders, technical teams, including heads of medical health departments, agriculture heads, community development officers, and also health workers. So there are quite 4 issues which we found out to be useful as we built this institutional capacity at the district level. One is that they appreciate the importance of data and planning, but also in allocating the little budgets they have based on the evidence that we've been able to present. But they have also said that Edgar, with this information that we've been able to give them, they have been able to focus their interventions based on the information that we've given them, but also we have focused their behavior change interventions at the district level based on the information that we've given them.
Edgar, that's enough. Margaret,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, viewers. And again, I won't waste a lot of your time. In terms of just telling you how much we have done in terms of capacity building, my presentation today is just going to be about showing you an example of how we did it. So I'm not going to be presenting data or anything, but it just gives you a glimpse of how we did it. So basically, this slide is in general summarizing the nutrition problems in Uganda, which you are already aware of. And as Professor Bashaasha has already said, Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Health are really the key sectors responsible for uplifting nutrition situation in the country. But we also know that Minister of Gender, Labor and Development, plus Minister of Education, and also Prime Minister's Office are also key players in improving nutrition, plus other government ministries and development partners. And we are also aware that there are so many actually nutrition interventions that are going on in the country, and we have sectoral efforts right now, but the concern that we address is the fact that Agriculture extension workers remain underutilized in terms of nutrition interventions in Uganda. And for instance, if you are coming from a country like the US, where you have the FNIP playing a key role in improving nutrition, so this is kind of a little bit different here. So anyway, the main thing is what we know for sure is that agriculture extension workers constitute the largest proportion of educated workforce under the Ministry of Agriculture. Most of them are diploma holders or higher degrees, and we do not utilize them that well in terms of improving nutrition. Then we also know that they already have the extension skills. 4 minutes. And we also know that they are well distributed in the country because unlike other nutrition experts, extension workers are at sub-county level. So if we are going to have impact, these are the people we need to target. Next, please. So I'm going to ask you to just look at the chart where we have category. So those are some of the competences that we do expect extension workers to have. And based on the research that we did last year, thanks to our engagement in this project, we have found that actually extension workers, public and private, have differences in what they perceive their needs, their competences to be, and what they perceive their roles to be, and what their training needs are. But in general, anyway, they all seem to agree that they need more training in terms of different needs of the household members, and also issues of post-harvest handling, and also the basic nutrition knowledge. Next, please. And so, so in general, I'm going to skip this slide. It's basically telling you what issues we covered. Basically, we really looked at the long-term capacity building by focusing on people who are already employed, concentrated on the issues that they had. I did both technical and adaptive capacity, and also we tried to help them see how they can improve the ecosystem at community and household level to improve nutrition, and also we also build their capacity to address the equity issues in terms of gender and regional diversity, plus cultural diversity. Next, please. So in general, when you look at that plate there, that's kind of a plate that describes the monotonous diet, and that can be anything. In terms of Uganda, you have a carbohydrate food plus some pulse of some sort. Next, please. And so in terms of building the capacity of extension workers, we were, for instance, telling them that, so getting them to know what the monotonous diet is, and getting them to see, like this chart here is talking about what does that monotonous diet interpret, translate into in terms of nutrient intake. And this is just talking about carbohydrate, protein, and fat. And so this is the red is showing you that these are the gaps. Specifically, we have gaps in protein, gaps in fat, and we also let them to know that now for carbohydrate, we seem to be okay, and for fiber, we seem to be okay. So we need focus on that. Next, please. And so there we were actually giving them skills, especially using this three food group guide, which one of the beneficiaries, Kansime, was having in his background. And so we don't have necessarily dietary guidelines right now. And this guide is also in development, but we were building their capacity to see that this is how you can educate the population, because this is also the same guide that is being used in the primary schools to educate students on nutrition. Next, please. And on the right now, you are going to see that for now, for extension workers, next, please. This table here is showing you that, so for the extension workers, we're showing them that when you actually educate the public on these three food groups, and then we come in to measure nutrient intake, these are the different areas that we look at. And this is basically how the three food groups can be interpreted in terms of the dietary diversity. So this is one of the areas that we found that they really needed knowledge about. And if you're out there, this is where you need to really get them to be more understanding what this is all about. Next, please. And so this is also, we went into diet food preparation, getting them to see how you can get the egg and vegetables, get more groups, add more carbohydrate, have a balanced diet. Next, please. We have messages such as this to say, okay, you can try to have diversity both within and across food groups. And of course, you have a role as extension worker. If you improve production diversity, then we're likely to improve diversity on the plate. And next, please. I'm sorry, I'm rushing. But on this particular one, so here we are trying to communicate issues of getting them to use the food composition tables, which are widely available, show them that the importance of them educating the households about
14 seconds.
Okay, processing foods, that when you have fresher foods, you're having lesser energy and lesser nutrients, but the more you process, when you dehydrate them, you have more energy and nutrients available. Next, please. When you have fresher foods. And the processing, of course, was focusing on processing those foods that they often consume, where we have issues in terms of the youth diets. And so this was really talking about, I'm wrapping up now. So in terms of processing, we're also doing issues of using the less costly technologies and to see how they can get the population to process everything, process, preserve, improve nutrient density, and also improve dietary diversity. I think time has caught us, and I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for all the presenters. You had a lot to present. You've done a whole lot out there. Now we are open for questions. Yeah. I have one question that I'm going to ask quickly. So, to all the presenters, all the work that you have done, mostly are in research and training, people developing capacities and all. How do you have some kind of, what's the takeaway for those in the communities who are mostly affected by your research? How do you translate your research to them? Anyone?
I could begin.
Yeah, just 2 seconds. Mm-hmm.
I think for the communities, by and large, for us, the dissemination workshops we took back that are attracting more interest from the leadership and even from the district technical people, and attracting money into nutrition mean that districts are now prioritizing nutrition and allocating funds in terms of training, teaching the communities, and in terms of supporting them to produce the right foods. So that's where I see the entry point in terms of communities benefiting. Thank you.
All right. Now, this one is generally globalization and urbanization have resulted in a population that has less exposure to agriculture, living in its wake, a population that is massively illiterate about agricultural processes, much more its linkages to nutrition. How does this affect your work in your institution of, okay, how does it affect your work of building capacity for agricultural researchers and workers in your institution, the college?
Is that for me, Eunice, again? Or for Margaret?
Anybody, because...
Very quickly, Eunice, people have to leave the land. That is what is happening in your part of the world, and we can't force them back. So I think we are going to need special programs targeting the urban poor, and then train them on what it means, what they should eat, how they should prepare it, and how they should manage food. That's my take. Thank you.
Yeah, who be growing the food now?
Oh, yeah, as people leave the land, farms should expand, productivity goes up. If you look at all the development models worldwide, people have to leave the land so that they create larger, more efficient farms. And these other people then, if they have gained full employment out of agriculture, then they supply a market. So we need to find them where they are, and we teach them how to eat and manage the food. I don't think everybody needs to know how to grow the food, but they need to know how to manage it properly to be nutritious. Thank you.
Great.
If I can just add on what Professor Bashaasha has said,
Right.
I think as we change, we see people moving, I think we need to realize though that in our context, that movement, that changing from agriculture to urbanization is not going to be really as drastic as is happening in developed countries. But also, so given the low level of food processing, we need to be moving more into extension, engaging food processors, extension, engaging more other people beyond the agriculture extension so that people are more informed on the different dimensions of food provisioning.
Okay, my last question. My last question is, there is from the presentation, we realize that there is a critical need to increase nutrition literacy of not only individuals and the community, but also those that are on the front line workers that are close to the farmers, the educators in the community. Margaret, you chose the extension workers who are men. And you know, there were some challenges for them, cultural challenges. Can you just expound on one of the challenges that you met during your case study training?
Well, I think that really remains a big challenge for us because we really had some hard problems getting the females to be trained. And so as you could see, the females were contributing a little bit more in terms of what ought to be done. And so yes, this is a real challenge, but I guess we have to find practical ways of getting the men to know the food processing and preservation aspect. And that's where we have also to increase more on the trainings of trainers, because now the agriculture extension workers are men and we cannot change that. So we need to train them on what they should train the workers on. So yeah, on the farmers on. So there is need for more training in food processing, preservation, and also preparation.
Edgar, at the district level, do you see any group that can be targeted for training in the community at the district level that are probably not gender as about youth and women and men?
Yes, so the government is moving in rolling out the community health workers, and the community health workers, I think, would be one of the conduits for entry to improve on especially on the behavior change, but also on changing the mindsets around the communities and what they should be feeding the children, but also in like what Margaret is alluding to on what needs to be done as communities, because the challenges we're finding with this in the training, especially at the district and the community level, are issues around who should be participating in the training, because most of the community workers double as quite a number they do a lot of activities. They are the ones who are in local government, running the local governments at the community level. They are the ones who want to be VHTs. So with the government coming up with the community health workers, we believe those would be the people to start with in training, especially on issues to do with the nutritional behavior change. So those are the ones that should be focused on.
Thank you. In conclusion, we still have a lot to do in terms of teaching process and training process to be able to expand this capacity building from institutional capacity to the community capacity building. Thank you all very much for your presentation, and this wraps up this session. Thank you all.